Hello everyone, my name is Patrick Marks and it's great to see you again. This video discussion will be on the post-war 20th century. You know, during my initial preliminary look at this, one of the things that stood out to me was the very computer that I was using. One of the highlights of the 90s for sure and the 20th century was the explosion of technology. Technology has always been the cornerstone of human advancement. Every time there is a technological innovation, civilizations have exploded. You know, the hand plow, the iron shoe on the horse. You know, these things revolutionized civilization. They revolutionized society, military, and the 90s were no different. One of the quintessential icons of the 90s has to be Bill Gates and Microsoft. Microsoft is a company that was founded in the 70s, and it was founded by Bill Gates and Paul Allen. And Bill Gates has a fascinating story of entrepreneurship. During my research, I discovered that Mr. Gates definitely had an interesting childhood. He spent most of his time when he was in 12, looking at Fortune business magazines. I don't know how many 12-year-olds are looking at business magazines, but it can't be many. And he was one of them. And so him and his friends in 7th grade would look at these magazines and they would make up names for businesses and such like that. So Gates always had a mind for business even when he was young. An interest in computers would come later, in programming specifically. Personal computing is certainly an everyday occurrence now, and we're perfect examples of that. And if anybody has to question whether Microsoft is still an important part of our world today, we only have to look at it a few weeks ago with the CrowdStrike disaster, where it literally crippled the world in some places, shut down airlines because Microsoft had a catastrophic failure. Now, that was a little different because it has something to do with security, but it just shows how dependent the world is on Microsoft. Gates was born in 1955. And, I found most of my information from an interview that David Allison gave. It was published in, I think, 2018, I believe. He questions Mr. Gates on a bunch of different things, specifically about his upbringing, how Microsoft got to where it was. During the interview, Mr. Gates was able to show off some of his equipment, some of the older computers. He showed off some very interesting and innovative things. One of the quotes that he had that certainly was important was, Mr. Allison asked, what was the culture of the company like when he was talking about Microsoft? And Mr. Gates said, well, I would program sort of night and day and tell people, hey, we promised this thing to be done in a few months. We've got to get these things done. We were so aggressive just getting things done. And Mr. Allison said, do the other people share your intention? Were they there as many hours as you were? And Mr. Gates said, well, certainly most of the people did, and we were all quite young. I have set the most extreme example, but the work was really fun. We always had deadlines that we ended up committing to that ended up being very challenging. That was one of the things that stood out to me for Bill's business was his attitude, the attitude that he had running Microsoft. It was important for the culture of the business, but so was the innovations that he was making, pushing the very boundaries of what the technology could do at the time. His success was really measured by his determination to make something great every single time that they pushed a new product. And he commented again in his interview, he said, I'd say that my job throughout all of this has been, I think, the most fun job I can imagine having. And partly the people I've gotten to work with outside the company. Certainly there are people inside the company, and certainly for at least a decade or, that will continue to be the case. So a lot of Microsoft's early success in the 90s was particularly due to the exploding popularity of technology, but also the innovations and the personal computing popularity that came with that. So a lot of those innovations really were important. Mr. Gates is definitely the quintessential 90s example of an entrepreneurship in the 20th century, and Microsoft still is an important part of our daily lives today. Thank you.